Hello and welcome to the show. I am Joe Top Act. One of my all-time favorite animated movies is The Phantom Tollbooth. For those of you who don't know, The Phantom Tollbooth was a movie made back in 1970. It was directed by legendary animator Chuck Jones and starred Butch Patrick, who is best known as Eddie Munster, as Milo. It also features legendary voice actors Mel Blanc, Daws Butler, and June Foray. The movie was based on a book by Norton Juster, who passed away on March 8th of this year at the age of 91. Juster hated the movie throughout his life. It even upset him that it received positive reviews. I've never been able to find a reason why he hated the movie. He did state in one interview that he had no input in the making of the movie. I'm not sure if that's the reason. Even if it is, I don't know what objection Jester had against it. I've read the book, and I can honestly say the movie stays pretty faithful to it. What makes this equally puzzling is that before the making of the Phantom Tollbooth, Chuck Jones adapted another story by Norton Juster called The Dot in the Line. As far as I know, Juster never had a problem with it. Since his passing, I rewatched the movie and I found it holds up pretty well. It's much better than a lot of animated movies I've seen in recent years. I would go as far as to say that the movie is underrated. It's almost never mentioned whenever the subject of best animated movies comes up. Now, I'm not saying that The Phantom Tollbooth is the greatest animated film of all time. I'm just saying that it deserves more recognition than it has gotten. To explain why it's so underrated, let's start by going over what the Phantom Tollbooth's about. The movie starts off in live action, where we see a bored kid named Milo. As he is complaining about how pointless life seems on the phone with his friend Ralph, Milo receives a mysterious package. Inside is the Phantom Tollbooth and a car. With nothing else to do, Milo decides to enter the cartoon world to go to the castle in the air in the Kingdom of Wisdom. On his way, he meets a series of strange characters. The time-wasting doldrums, Officer Shrift, a literal spelling bee, the Weatherman, a witch named Faintly Macabre, Talk, a literal watchdog, and the Humbug, both of whom would become Milo's companions. The Kingdom of Wisdom is divided into two sections. The first is Dictionopolis, ruled by King Azaz the Unabridged, who values words. The second kingdom is called Digitopolis, ruled by the Math Magician, who values numbers. One day, the two kings got into an argument over which is more important, words or numbers. They go to the princesses of Sweet Rhyme and Pure Reason to settle their dispute. Because the princesses decided that both words and numbers are of equal importance, the two kings banished them to the castle in the air. With rhyme and reason gone, nothing makes sense in the Kingdom of Wisdom. King Azaz and the Math Magician see the error of their ways and agree to allow Milo and his friends to free them. King Azaz gives Milo a bag of words, while the Math Magician gives him a pencil that has various mathematical equations. Both serve Milo well when he goes up against the census taker, the terrible Trivium, the demon of insincerity, the gelatinous giant, and the demons of ignorance. He successfully saves the princesses, who restore order in the kingdom of wisdom. Milo goes back to live action, where the Phantom Tollbooth goes to his friend Ralph. The movie ends with Milo now enjoying life. Although the Phantom Tollbooth received positive reviews, it failed at the box office. The problem was that MGM was going through some financial problems at the time, so the movie really wasn't promoted. When the Phantom Tollbooth was released, it was only shown on the weekend for 2 weeks. Another problem is that it came out in 1970, when animated films weren't really big business for Hollywood. Disney at that time was practically the only studio making them on a regular basis, and even then, it was few and far between. Animated movies made by studios other than Disney typically didn't do well back then. Over the years, the Phantom Tollbooth has received more attention. This is mostly due to it being released on VHS and DVD. Also, it was shown a lot on Cartoon Network back in the day. That's where I first saw it. Why do I love it so much and think it deserves more attention? To keep it simple, I broke it down to 3 reasons. Reason 1. The animation. The movie kind of reminds me of The Wizard of Oz with Judy Garland. When Dorothy was in Kansas, the movie was in black and white. When she goes to Oz, the movie is in color. This is a great way to show how different Kansas and Oz are to each other. The Phantom Tollbooth does the same thing. Only they used live action when Milo is in the real world and animation when he passes through the toll booth. I always love this scene where Milo keeps going back and forth through the toll booth. While the characters don't look anything like the book's illustrations, they do look good in Chuck Jones' style. I especially love the designs of the demons of ignorance. That one right there is scary enough to give you nightmares for the rest of your life. One of my favorite bits of animation is when the gelatinous giant melts. Liquid is very hard to animate, and they pull it off very well. The same can be said where Milo first encounters the doldrums. Those things were scary. Reason 2. The characters. Like The Wizard of Oz and Alice in Wonderland, the Phantom Tollbooth is full of colorful characters. Milo is a relatable character. Who hasn't felt like life has no real purpose? What kid hasn't wondered why the things they learn in school are important? Throughout the movie, he learns the importance of an education. He uses the lessons he learns to get out of the situations he finds himself in. Butch Patrick does a fantastic job at making Milo a likable character. Tuck is basically the typical loyal dog. He's always looking out for Milo and tries his best to keep him out of trouble. Then there's the humbug, who's the exact opposite of Tuck. While Tuck joins Milo because he wants to help, the humbug joins in because the spelling bee stings him when King Azaz asked for volunteers. He acts like he's more important than he really is. Guess that's why he's called the humbug. Les Tremaine's sophisticated voice does a great job at conveying the humbug's self-importance. King Azaz and the Math Magician are also pretty interesting. Both are voiced by Hans Conrad, who many of you may know as the voice of Captain Hook in Disney's Peter Pan and Snidely Whiplash from Dudley Do-Right. The kings don't get along because they can't agree on which is more important, words or numbers. There are many other characters, too many to list out. Each one is unique and interesting. I guarantee you won't forget any of them. Some of their names are puns, like the Weatherman and the Witch. Perhaps the side character most people talk about is the Terrible Trivium. He is a demon who gives people meaningless jobs. He has no face. I guess that's meant to represent how people who create these meaningless jobs are faceless. Norton Juster once said in an interview that he had many adults tell him they find the Terrible Trivium a scary character. He believes that it's because adults are afraid of ending up in meaningless jobs. I'm not sure how many kids would understand that, but it shows that the Fandom Tollbooth can be enjoyed on a deeper level. This leads me to Reason 3, the themes. There are two important themes the Fandom Tollbooth covers: the importance of an education and how a rivalry can ruin society. At the beginning of the movie, Milo doesn't get why he has to learn anything. By going through the toll booth, he learns how important education is. The movie isn't saying that you have to stay in school, even though you should. What it's saying is that we should learn from our experiences. Milo learns how not to waste time after his encounter with the doldrums. This would serve him well when he encounters the Terrible Trivium, whose sole purpose is to assign pointless jobs. Milo also learns how to use logic, like how he convinced the Math Magician that he and King Azaz agreed to disagree, and he learns how to use words and numbers properly. The mess the Kingdom of Wisdom is in is the result of a rivalry between Azaz and the Math Magician. They couldn't accept that words and numbers are of equal importance, so they had the princesses of rhyme and reason banished. They both learned that they were wrong and agreed to let Milo and his friends free the princesses. Some of this may fly over the heads of most kids, but the silly characters and engaging story will keep them entertained, and as they grow older, they will appreciate the themes. So if you haven't seen the movie before, check it out. I highly recommend it. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think, and don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later.